So let me get this straight. I've told you I'm planning to leave the company. I've given you my 2 weeks notice. And now you're asking me to stay and you're giving me what amounts to a counteroffer. And my first question for you is, why? Welcome back to Over 50 TV. My name is Lou Reyes. And in the opening skit, what I did is I just gave you what I think most of you have, or how you've reacted when an employer decides they're going to counteroffer when you've turned in your notice. And the big question is, why are they asking you to stay? Well, I'm going to address that question. And in this video, what I'm also going to do is I really want to talk about, should you accept that counteroffer? Should you accept the counteroffer from your employer? And what I'm going to do is I'm going to give you some step-by-step instructions, basically a format that I suggest you follow. I've got from A to F. Each item I've outlined some steps, some recommendations anyway that I think you should consider. But before I get into the steps, I'm going to ask you to consider subscribing to this channel, to Over 50 TV, where we provide career advice to people who are over 50. Also, I'm going to ask you to consider subscribing to my new YouTube channel. It's called Side Hustle Rules. If your next big career move is launching or starting your own business, well, you're going to want to watch or subscribe to Side Hustle Rules. So now let's sit down. Let's answer that question. Should you accept a counteroffer from your employer? So the first thing that you should expect them to do when you are sitting down with the hiring manager or the HR person or whatever person you're sitting down with is that person should sell you on why you should stay. You've already given your notice. You've already let them know that you're leaving in 2 weeks. They are giving you a counteroffer. Well, now they need to sell you on the company. They need to sell you. And there are some things that I want you to expect from them when they're selling you. Some things that I know that you need to hear. And I put together some notes, which, by the way, I may go ahead and put a link in the description box so that you can just click on that and you'll get the notes, which is really the format. A format from A to F is how I have it. And each step will let you know what you should expect and what you need to consider. And I put that together just for my notes. But I'm thinking I'm just going to go ahead and share that with you. But the first thing, they're selling you. Number one, they have to sell you. They should ask you, like any good salesperson is going to do, anybody with experience, and probably they don't have that, but they still should say or ask you, well, Lou, why do you want to leave? They should ask you. And your questions, your answers should be short and they should be succinct. They should be to the point. Don't stretch it out. You know, I want to leave, or I've decided to leave because I want to move up the career ladder. Or you could say, I want to leave, or I plan to leave. I'm leaving because I want to increase my salary. Whatever the reason is, short, succinct. That's all you need to do. Number two, though, they should be telling you why they are giving you the counteroffer. Well, we're giving you the counteroffer because we value you. Well, you know what I'm thinking? If you valued me, well, why didn't you value me sooner? Why did it take this long? The other thing they should do, and I'm looking at my notes here, they should tell you why they are a great company. Lou, why would you want to leave? You see our future is bright. Yeah. If the future's bright, well, if you want me to be one of the light bulbs in your bright future, well, tell me why I should stay. So you want them to be selling you. Another thing I want to do is I'm going to say to them, I want to hear them tell me what their plans are for me. Lou, we want you to stay. You know, we had plans for you. We've got big plans. Well, give me the plans, and I want concrete plans for me, for my future. So, yeah, you want to hear all this stuff. Number one, as I said, on this list here is they need to sell you. Number two, now you're done with the sales meeting. You've gone back to your office or your cubicle, and you're sitting there. Now's the time to think about the reasons why you decided you needed to leave or wanted to leave that company. And there are some concrete reasons. I imagine there's some concrete reasons why you decided to leave. And one of those reasons could be you had a bad boss and you didn't get along. You didn't like the direction the boss was taking you. Maybe the company culture wasn't a culture that fit with what you want a company culture to be. And sometimes a company culture will change from the day you started to the day you reach that decision that you've got to get out of there. You got to leave. There could be some small things which really aren't too small nowadays anyway. It could be that you just didn't like the commute. Maybe the commute was beating you up and you were driving a half hour or an hour or longer, and that commute was just weighing on you. It was just becoming too much. Now, the other thing is, and I put this on the list, which I think is very, very important, is you got to consider the opportunities, because you decided to leave, and was one of the reasons that you decided to leave is because the opportunities you found were limited there. It wasn't going to take you up the ladder, or the opportunities were actually declining in terms of the fact that, you had a position that you really enjoyed at one point, and now that position has changed, and now your duties have been shifted to somebody else, and whatever reason that could be, it doesn't really matter. It's just that you got to consider, or should consider, is one of the reasons I want to leave is the limited opportunities. Another thing, some of us get to a point, lots of us get to the point as our career evolves, is that we just get bored. We're just bored, man. We just are tired of being at that company, and no amount of extra money or no other incentive is going to get us to stay. So consider the reasons that you wanted to leave, because chances are every reason that you wanted to leave isn't going to change. They're still going to be there. Another thing that you will want to consider is what I call the aftermath. And the aftermath is, okay, you've given your notice and maybe it took your employer, your manager completely by surprise. And now what they're doing is, they're giving you this counteroffer, but they're giving it to you, and the aftermath could be they're giving it to you because they are now trying to buy some time, because they realize that you're not happy, and they're thinking, we got to replace this person because, they're probably going to end up leaving anyway. So now in that aftermath, they're just trying to buy themselves a little bit of time. Now, the other thing that could happen after this whole thing kind of blows up, I'm going to say, is they may, in the back of their minds, they may be questioning your loyalty, that you should be loyal to the company, and what maybe they don't realize. And I think a lot of companies at this point, and managers aren't realizing, at least not admitting, is that the loyalty that people have towards their job, that loyalty has changed, because people see, especially us folks who are a bit older, who are over 50 years old, we see that the loyalty that used to be heaped on workers, if there was loyalty, that loyalty certainly has changed. There's really I do want to say there's really no loyalty. So they're going to question your loyalty. Another thing that you got to watch out for is if there's going to be any sniping. You may get a manager who's going to be like, you were going to leave, and sometime in a conversation down the road, not long after you decided to stay, if that's what you decide, there might be some sniping. Like, hey, you were going to leave. I don't know if you're going to be here tomorrow. You don't need to hear that. That's crazy. That's just BS stuff that you don't need to hear. So the aftermath, you got to consider it. And I'm saying that should be something that you definitely want to consider. Now, something else I think is very important to understand, and maybe you're at your desk, or as I said, you're in your office or at your cubicle, and you're thinking about this, but understand this, please. 80% of the time, and it depends on what source you get this information from, but they say statistics show that at least 80% of the time, after you've accepted a counter offer, 80% of the time, it doesn't work out, and that employee ends up leaving the company anyway. And 80% of the time it doesn't work out, but that does leave 20% of the time. And really what you're doing now is you're going to be playing the odds. Am I going to be one of the 80% or one of the 20% that end up staying there? My feeling is this. When it doesn't work out, sometimes it could be because there was not any real good, solid dialogue between you and the hiring manager or whoever is giving you the counteroffer. You didn't come to some kind of concrete understanding of why you were going to leave and how now that counter offer is improving the situation dramatically to the point that you want to stay. So I think a lot of times it doesn't work out because there wasn't communication. Certainly there are other reasons that it doesn't work out. Maybe the employer already decided, hey, we're going to get rid of this person. We just need to buy some time. But 80% of the time it doesn't work out. And I'm thinking, without anything to back this up, I'm thinking there's probably a lack of communication. And the part of the reason I've come to that conclusion is because it does work out for 20% of the people, or approximately 20% 80% of the folks. So why would it work out for them? Well, my thinking is the reverse. Yeah, they did get an understanding. There was a really good, solid, healthy dialogue, a real nice understanding of why you're going to leave and how that situation was going to improve, and you were happy with it. But you've got to or should consider the fact that, at least statistically, it doesn't work out 80% of the time. Okay, now let me give you some more questions or some more things that I think you may want to, or really, let me just say, things I think you should consider. And number one is, if you decide to accept that counter offer, will you be passing up a better opportunity? And that is an easy question to answer, because you've already given their counter offer. You know what or why you wanted to leave. But if you stay because maybe you're afraid to leave and you're not sure, and if you're a bit older, you may think, hey, I could go to this other place, but it's the unknown. But you could be, or if you are passing up better opportunities, well, that is something that only you can decide on, if that's important to you as the opportunity. Number two, and I'm going to say this, I would ask myself, can I see myself still working here in 3 years or 5 years? Is this a place that I really want to be at after all? And again, you got to this point where you gave your notice, you gave your 2 weeks or whatever time frame you gave, and you got to ask yourself, do I see myself working here a few more years? And again, I'm going to go back to the fact that as you get a little bit older, and I know we get a lot of people on this channel who are under 45, and we get people at 45 and people over 50. Depending on where you're at in your career, this decision to me this consideration is something that is important. Now, here's the other thing, and this is what I'll say is almost the final thing I would recommend, or I do recommend that you consider here, and that is this. Would you recommend this company to a relative or a good friend? Yeah, ask yourself that question. Would you recommend it? Because if you don't think working here is good enough or appropriate for one of your friends or family members, why would it be good enough for you? So that to me is a very important question. And I think you could sum this whole thing up as, should I accept a counter offer from my employer? Well, you know what? Answering that one question could go a long way to helping you decide if this place is right for you. Well, there you go, folks. I've just given you my outline on how to approach a situation where you give your notice and then you're trying to decide, should I accept a counteroffer from my employer? And really what I did is I just took it step by step, what should be considered and why each of those things should be considered. And I hope that this was able to help you. Now, I will ask you if you would consider going ahead and subscribing to our channel, Over 50 TV. If you like this video, also consider giving me a thumbs up. If you don't like it, give me a thumbs down. I'm okay with that too. I did mention early on, we do have a new YouTube channel. It is called Side Hustle Rules. On that channel, I am publishing videos to help people who have decided their next career move is starting their own business. I should say their next big career move is starting their own business. If you're interested in that and starting a business, go ahead and subscribe to Side Hustle Rules. Well, that's all I got for you. If you got any questions, any comments, put your comments on the underneath the video. If you got a question, you can always do it and put your question there, or you can go ahead and just email me your question. Well, as I always say, have a great day, everybody.